finished listening to Crazy Love by Willow Aster. This is performed in dual by Vanessa, Edwin and Crais. This is Penn's story, and if you have been around a while, you will know that I have absolutely adored this single dad's players dad's handbook. God damn it, why can't I remember what order it goes in? Single dad's handbook, anyway. Players being football players, they're all on the same team, and I did the first book on a whim. I'd never read anything by Willow Aster before. I liked the narrator pairing, it was sports romance, it was a single dad. Sign me up, and was blown away. I was like, oh yes. And every subsequent book I feel like yes. And all through it we have met Penn, and I have just been waiting. And we knew he had a connection with a child that was in foster care, and I felt it was going to go down the adoption route. And I believe I said that in the last review for the last book, that I thought this book was going down the adoption route, and that is a subject that is close to me. Anybody that, again, that's been here a while will know that. The emotions, man. The fucking emotions. So, this book did not disappoint. Let's get that out of the way. First and foremost, Vanessa, Edwin. I could not be happier. I love listening to Vanessa. I think she is a phenomenal voice artist, and she has such a beautiful way of conveying emotion, and she does an incredible job in this book specifically of showing the range of emotions that a person goes through when it involves fostering and adoption, and I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. When I saw it was Crais, I did take a minute to sort of sit with that and adjust to that, because every book has had a different narrator pairing and a different narrator completely, and so I was a bit taken aback that it was a repeat narrator because Connor was in the first book. And I think if it was going to be somebody that had to be a repeat, I think for Penn, because of the sort of personality that Penn is, I think I personally would have gone with somebody more like Jeff Harding, just because of his sound and personality and how he conveys that, more than Connor. Not saying that Connor doesn't do a great job, because he does. I just think with his tone and how he sounds, he's less suited to the character. But that is just me as a listener and my preferences. Other people are going to have different preferences. That's the joy of listening, right? It's subjective. But together, Connor and Vanessa were fantastic. Now getting back to what I was saying about Vanessa and the emotion. So there are some scenes in this book where she is really struggling to sort of balance out being a new mum, dealing with all the needs of these children, dealing with her wants and desires as a woman and as an adult and as a person with a career, and making some tough decisions. And she's also an independent person, and so she's trying to do it all herself. And I think it is very easy for people to see that and be like, well, why didn't she just ask for help? Why is she trying to do all of this herself? Why doesn't she just do this, that, or the other? For me, I felt so seen in those moments, because it is so overwhelming. Whether it is something that you are thrust into and that happens suddenly and overnight, or something that you have planned for, it's still sudden, and the emotions are an onslaught, and you are not only processing your own, but also this child, these children, and not only what they're experiencing now, but what you know of what they've experienced prior. And it is a lot to process. It is a lot to deal with, and it's not just about what is happening in that moment, it's also about the future. And that is something that I am in the process now, 7 years in, still sort of in that mind meld of like, how am I gonna deal with what's gonna happen in the next few years? How am I gonna have these conversations? How am I going to manage my feelings, my expectations, and his expectations, and those conversations, and also outside parties and those things. And so it's a lot. And I just think the way Vanessa really took the material, which I don't know Willow's story. I don't know whether this was just incredibly researched or whether she has family or a direct experience of it, but I will say absolutely nailed that emotional fullness of it all. But the way Vanessa took that and made us feel like I was back there, man. There was tears. I was surprised. There were lots of tears, lots of emotion, and it also had me feeling things that and thinking about things that had been a while to think about. I will also say there were moments with the children that were just, children are so resilient, and the fact that there is a scene with Sam that was really just knife to the gut, and it was like, even after everything he's experienced, he was willing to sacrifice for somebody else. And that is because these children, that is their experience, and it breaks the heart. But the only thing I will say is that it was a bit like, what is happening here was when they were dragging their heels about placing Sam with Penn because he travelled for work and was single, but the moment Addy came along, oh okay, no problems. Do you not want to like maybe do a check, make sure she's, you know, not a psycho serial killer or something before, you know, you send this kid home? That was the only thing. I loved Penn and Addy's relationship. I thought it was so sweet. The thing with the cat, oh my god, the cat. And many people know, I lost my cat recently, and just before we lost her, she had to be shaved, and all that was left was her head and her tail. The rest of her was naked, and so all I kept thinking through this book was my baby, even though this was different, it's a different breed. And but when they're talking about like how we felt to stroke, and I was like, I know, it was like, that's so weird. And I just knew what was going to happen, and the way Penn was, and I'm like, this dude just collects people, and it's just the type of, like, if you talk about a character that is just the sweetest and the most heartwarming, it has to be Penn. Like, that man would open up his home to anybody and anything. And I just love the family they created together, and this was the perfect sort of ending, and I loved that it opened it up to be like, yeah, we have space for a next generation, so maybe. And I love that that option is there. So if you haven't started yet, you should. They are all standalones, interconnected, but they're all standalones, so you could pick up any, but I think doing it in order is your best bet. But yeah, they are a must. Go check them out.